Peter, welcome back to Autonomous.
Thank you. Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back to Autonomous. You had a pretty fascinating presentation last year. We had an excellent fireside chat back then, a panel actually.
Yeah.
A lot of people remember that. The remnants of that are on YouTube, and it's a fascinating conversation that we had.
If you don't know, at that time I was talking about divorce. But this year I think I'm going to talk about marriage.
Indeed. Indeed.
And it's coming. I know you guys are, hungry for food now, but I think love trumps everything.
Indeed. Yeah. Wise words, Peter. I'm not taking all of that advice very seriously just yet, but let me tell you something about Peter. Peter is the head of data and AI for all of network data at T-Mobile. He's been there for over a decade, and in the past he was also with GE Healthcare, Capital One.
Yep.
He's been in the enterprise data space for a very, very long time, one of the most seasoned operators that we've had the privilege of working with. I'm very glad to have you back again, Peter.
Yeah. I'm a job hopper, so I change job frequently in the past, but I never leave data, right? Because I really feel you can change everything. Data is always going to be critical for everything we do. Rohit, since you asked me to come, but this is your conference. And I was, listening all the presentation and such. All of a sudden, I got called out to wire this thing. And then I missed a good portion of your CTO, Ashwin's presentation. So when I came out, he's already talking about capacity on demand, which is fascinating.
Indeed.
My question, actually, I want to fire to you is, you see, that's how it goes. Would you make this video that he's doing available to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, not just the video, the products are also available now.
Okay. This guy.
You've got to get the product out as opposed to just the video. The videos are very easy to make with, the right amount of token subscription.
Okay.
I think what has really taken us a lot of effort is to get to that journey where, Ashwin had a limit, his and my, the conversations that we had at the beginning of the year was that if the agentic runtime does not spin up in 10 minutes, then you lose 50% of your variable pay. And he made sure that it was done under 10 minutes as opposed to, and he did it under 5, so now he's asking for 50% additional.
Awesome.
So that's something that, my CFO won't allow.
Awesome.
But I think, jokes apart, I think the important thing over there, and you know this much, much better than all of us, that hybrid is the reality. It has been a situation where it's impossible to get all the CPU and GPU capacity at one location. People will have to consider bursting their appropriate workloads on the right infrastructure as opposed to just one.
Exactly. So I guess my second question, I'm going to fire a couple more,
Sure.
And then you can fire back. A couple of other is I was really fascinating, but I hope no HR people are here. You put a timer there. What is the purpose? Are you timing everything that you guys are doing? Well, I know George was joking about, maybe not joking about the social media for agent. Do that to agent, don't do to the human.
Yeah, you're right. Because, we were measuring the performance of our own code and the ability to spin all of that on the infrastructure that's available as opposed to Ashwin's performance. Ashwin's performance was to, write that piece of code that did that efficiently. So there's distinction, very clear distinction.
Yeah, I love that because I have to say, you are the first one I have seen that actually put a timer there and actually measure everything. We are all data people. We have to remember that because we are data people. We always try to help other team to measure, to do better. We should measure ourselves, like you guys. This is great. Thank you.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Peter, now my turn.
Fire away.
Tell us about what happened in the last decade. You've been doing data for a long time. You started when there were only data warehouses, possibly even applications.
Right.
But what has been the last 10 years? And how has that gone by?
10 years, I can tell you last 25 years. That's how old I am. Yeah, I actually started a long time ago, right, with Informax. and Oracle cluster, and you go on and on and on, right? And then a few years ago, it's about the cloud. Every of those kind of a wave, I see people have this fantasy that they can consolidate everything in one platform. And I don't think that actually work. It's good for IT people because every time migration happen, we get paid more and more, right? And one way or another, the vendor will charge you more, right? But with the AI revolution, I think George mentioned about those costs went down, productivity went up. I don't think that will work. The first slide he showed, the end of SaaS, I thought he's telling us to short the stock. But seriously, that's where the reality is. So last year, I've been talking about, when I went to other conference, I've been talking about connected intelligence.
That's right.
Where I think we have to connect those different systems, different data, all together. That's where I was talking about the marriage. Really, you have to marry those data together without moving the data or migrating those data into different platforms. I think you and I had that conversation a couple of times,
Absolutely,
a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm very glad this X-Lake, even though I don't like everything X-Start, but nevertheless, I know what you try to do. But
yeah. I mean, the whole concept is that it is a cross-lake architecture.
Yes.
And the reality is that there is so much data which is coming in from all over the place.
Yeah.
When we work together on the network infrastructure, we found many things coming at an exceptional speed. And, as the 5G and hopefully the 6G rollout starts again, the amount of data that's getting captured over the network is only going to increase. And so you're making certain decisions for not just human access today, but also the agentic access.
Correct.
How are you thinking about your infrastructure right now?
Yeah, so agent is, I would say, different. I know we all build software. Software mimic human, right? Even though there's I don't know, I'm showing my age here. There's a Conway's law. You guys heard about it? Your software is mimicking your organization, right? It's mimicking how we do. But I think more and more you are thinking about here is that AI actually going to do those things autonomously, right? And AI will actually achieve those business outcomes by its own. I think George has a slide there to talk about increase the pile of the reinforcement learning. When that pile gets increased, it will become much more autonomous like what we have now. So you want to have the agent to act where the data resides. So you really cannot have spend another parallel effort to move the data to feed the agent, right? In a way, I hope HR is not here. We are going to work for agents.
Yeah.
Really, that's a word we're going to continue move towards.
We talked about accountability also in preparation to this, Fireside chat. But
Yeah.
do you want to talk about agentic accountability as well? Because the agentic runtime has to have the same capabilities / the same governance mechanism that humans have today.
Yes. So I was probably the loudest at the very back when Roman was talking about finish the last leg of the 3, which is also you getting the observability on AI, on agent. I was very surprised last year that it was not talked enough. In the work I do, right, in the people I talk to, the first thing I talk to them about building an agent is to start actually there. Because you want to make sure the agent is doing the right thing for you. In order for you to do that, you have to measure. You have to observe. You have to put, last year when people talk about the guardrail, it's just a word. What guardrail? You set up some, rules, which is not going to work, Now I think you actually have to have agent, a different kind of agent to watch another set of agent, right? So that agent become the consumer of the data from another group of agent. So the complexity of this data world is just explode. That actually come back to this marriage I talked about, is you have to marry all those data together in real time.
That's right. All the storage is going to be hybrid. The infrastructure is, CPUs plus GPUs. We also talked about models, and how are you thinking about models, not just the public ones, but also
Yes.
hybrid deployments of
Yes.
open source small language models?
Yeah, I asked a question about the Standard Oil, because it was I heard about those kind of a concern that one company is going to take all, right? Or maybe that one company went to become SP 500, and that will count for like 40% of the weight, right? But I think I'm glad actually George mentioned there's other opportunity, which is I actually truly believe, because not every automation need large language model. I have seen even my phone, I have an off-grid install. I have custom small language model or open model built there, right? So open model, the benefit of open model is, it can be much more cost efficient, and also can become more deterministic. The hallucination become less of an issue. That's where a lot of time we need, right? I think all the time we need no hallucination. But in order to do that, I think you want to control in a very finite domain. So I think that opportunity is tremendous, especially when you marry that open model with the right data together. It's another marriage need to happen. I'm not talking about divorce today, right? That's another marriage need to happen, and that will happen beautifully.
Yeah. Are you also thinking about building your own custom models?
Yes.
For telecom domain, for
Yes.
things.
I think we should all think about domain specific, right? Many years ago I worked at GE Healthcare. At that time it's all rule based, and when I talk to some of my colleagues and such, right, in the healthcare arena, I think rule base is still very important, but that can be actually extended by using open model, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
We've been working on the X-Lake architecture together for a while. One, can you share what were the motivations of considering that X-Lake architecture? Obviously, the reality is that hybrid data sets are all over the place. But also the other element which we didn't talk so far about was the cost.
Yes.
And how is that affecting the enterprise today?
Yeah, cloud has a lot of value, right? I won't be lying to say don't use cloud or anything, right? Use it in the right way, I would say, right? I think there's a tremendous value that you need both. On-prem and cloud has to be coexist. We see this all the time, right? Either we went to one side too much and we went to another side. I think now with AI, with advancement of the technology, we can have this hybrid architecture, which is also, I keep talking about this connected intelligence. The idea is not about cloud or on-prem. The idea is what is the best efficient, cost-efficient way to achieve the bigger business value. So we all have to think about that very hard.
In fact, one of the use cases that we were solving with Peter and his group was effectively just reducing the cost of overall ingestion.
OpEx, yeah.
And the operational cost, which just keeps piling on every year, and it has a significant effect on the earnings, which all public companies.
We want to save money for our customer, right? We want to make sure that our customer get the best experience. So any operational cost, we want to cut as low as possible.
Yeah, makes sense. There's one topic which you've spoken quite a lot to me about.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, how and there are many leaders over here, what is your advice to them in thinking about their organizations of the future?
Yeah, so in my view, the org has to change. The org is not just the structure and such, that's one part. Another part is our job. Each one of us, how do we view our day-to-day work? That has to change because, in the past, right, the software, we tell software, we coded those things. Now, with AI can, you just tell the outcome. You just state the outcome. AI can execute those steps and achieve that outcome for you, right? So you have to think about how to make sure that what we do adds additional value. Because a lot of those repeatable work or even linear type of job, I would say, right, will be done by the agent now. Our job become more of assurance. We have the service assurance or aging assurance guy, making sure agent does the right thing, and also maybe be more creative, create a different kind of a value.
What has kind of surprised you in the last 2 years, I would say?
Oh, 2 years, I would say, from I heard about this notion of English as a programming language to already happen now, right? It's already here. Last year when I was here, it was all about MCP. MCP is going to replace API. Today, I don't think anybody mentioned about MCP, right? But one thing is constant, is this rapid change that AI imposed on us. So either we embrace it and be on top of it, or we're going to get washed away by AI. And the change that George talked about, and Ashwin, and you, and Ramon talk about, we have to embrace. There's no other way around. If you just say, this is the only way, 2 years from now, this only way will not be exist. That's it. You're going to be forced to divorce. But I think now get married is better.
Makes sense. Yeah. Any last advice for whoever is here? Do you want to repeat any themes from last year? I know you don't want to talk about divorces, but anything that stayed consistent, what changed is good.
Yeah, I think from the AI-driven, right, maybe a year ago, to really we have to make AI be part of our job. It's not AI-driven anymore. So you have to think about that ultimately all those work, kind of like your last slide, is going to be merged between human and agent together. So it's not either or, it's and.
Yeah.
Not saying we marry to agents, but we have to get along.
Indeed, we will get along, especially when there are going to be 10,000 more applications developed by agents, which George was talking about in his presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Peter, thank you so much.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate you coming over. Maybe we take a couple of questions, if that is okay.
Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah. Aging overlord. I will not let that happen. I will be the overlord instead of agent. So I think you have a very good point, right? That's what I keep talking about. I've been talking about this assurance role, right? I don't think we are doing enough on the assurance role at the industry because we are all engineers. We like to build stuff. That's our nature. When you talk about something, a problem, everybody's in the room raising hand. I can do it. I can do it. I'm the same way. I can do it. But very few times we think about what is the consequences. How you going to do that assurance? Well, that starts with getting the telemetry, getting the right observability framework in place before you actually jump in to create an agent. So I think that thinking needs to change. That will prevent this aging overload to happen. I don't think that's a very good thing to have an aging overload because it can run rogue. Sorry.
Just want to understand what's the future roadmap for next 18 to 24 months from a governance, because T-Mobile is so big, so huge from a governance standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint, and also what's the future like for T-Mobile, just for the benefit of
I think this is more than just T-Mobile. Even though I come from T-Mobile, I actually don't want to talk T-Mobile specifically because this industry is
It's a pervasive industry.
is for everybody, right? I think everybody, when you stand back and look at how fast we are moving, people in general are scared, right? Even last year, when we were here, people worry about what their kids going to study, right? A lot of kids graduate from, good school, college, won't be able to get an entry-level job because a lot of those functions that entry-level job supposed to do is taken by AI, which is completely true, right? So I think what we have to think about is what kind of the things that we, as a human, we need to do. And how to make sure that we are actually adding ultimate value to this whole mix. That's, I don't have a silver bullet or, say, hey, after 12 months or something, because this field changed so rapidly. So I think the number one thing we have to think about is what could go wrong? Ask yourself before we jump on to build something. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah. Peter, thank you so much again. Thanks for your partnership.
Thank you. Thanks you for having me here.